I didn't want to get involved, but I realized I must just try and help the situation. Is there a sexual harassment problem at workplaces in South Africa?
Is that the
Yes.
question?
Yes, I'm
Well,
asking.
Yes.
Is-
From my experience, starting from the labor court, there has been that problem that has been identified.
So judiciary is a workplace.
I don't know, do we need a dialogue, Chief Justice?
Don't do that because we're trying to find your view on this matter. I'm not engaged in a dialogue with you,
Okay.
JP. I'm trying to arrive at a certain point. Why? Because you are making it difficult to make up our mind in relation to your thinking on this matter. That's why I'm coming up with a different approach. I asked, is there a problem of sexual harassment in society? You said yes.
Yes.
Is judiciary not a working place?
It is.
Therefore, it means there will be a problem of sexual harassment in the judiciary because there is generally a problem of sexual harassment in society.
Yes.
Now that you came before us to apply.
Everything is a mind game.
I can't.
Good afternoon, JP Tlalet.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
JP, in the course of this afternoon, you've repeatedly used the term full institutional independence for the judiciary. And earlier, when you presented your vision, you lamented the fact that the judiciary is accountable to National Treasury for its budget and subject to budget cuts by National Treasury. Now, my question is really in two parts. The first is, do you believe that full institutional independence is possible? And if so, what checks and balances do you propose in relation to the judiciary's handling of public funds?
Yes. Well, thank you, Commissioner. I would call it full institutional independence, in the sense that the judiciary will be running its own affairs. The judiciary will be part of the arms of state that get money from the treasury. And then there should be systems in place within the judiciary how to employ those finances. There has to be, and I did indicate that, an urgent matter that we may have to consider. How are we going to account with the kind of monies, the monies that you are going to get? Currently, we have the Secretary General going to the portfolio committee to make an explanation there. But this thing has been a sticking point because the parliamentarians go beyond at times, and rightly so because it involves money, to ask about the activities of the judiciary. And it created problems, as if now the judiciary is accounting to the portfolio committee, to the politicians, something that some members of the society also frowned upon it. But there has to be a structure. Let's say if we take the current model that we are thinking about, that we are going to have a judicial council and an advisory body. That council should have a system of accounting to the treasury on the appropriation that we would have received. And it should not only be enough only for what we call Judiciary Day and invite portfolio committee members to listen to what we say and produce reports. We want to see full accountability and make sure that everybody understands that we are functioning within the parameters of the state as an independent arm of state. Issues of employees within the judiciary, those are the issues that will need to be taken into. I don't think personally it would make sense have our support staff reporting to public service, to the Department of Public Service. I mean, they have their own priorities. And that creates problems now between the judges and the employees. At the moment, I know you know this very well, Commissioner, that they fall under the ministry and their loyalty in terms of the prescripts of the public service and the act. Loyalty first is the minister. And we are being consulted. And this has been a problem. But I assure you, we have to have a meaningful way of accounting to as an arm of state. The Judicial Council and the CEO, if we have some person like that or whatever we call ASG, the Secretary General, should be the one who present that. I would not want to see a situation where the Chief Justice go to this organization, to the arms of state and account to them and being asked questions. Thank you.
But in your scheme, JP, you retain National Treasury's role as the custodian of the budget.
Definitely, that is the entry point of all the monies, and this is where we are going to get the monies from. And even if we were to get funds and whatever from other sources, we have to disclose them to the Treasury, and the Treasury must make a record of those to ensure that there is transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Now, just in relation to the answers you gave Commissioner Shabangu Ndawe earlier around the role of women, and I take note of the CJ's remarks about the role you've played in advancing women in your division. I was making a careful note of your answers around what is needed to advance women in the legal profession. And I'm a bit concerned about your direction, and I'll tell you why. You raised 5 issues. You say there must be better education at universities. You said once they're in a profession, women must be trained to move forward. You said that women must be given opportunities within the profession. You said that they must be given opportunities to act. And you said that conditions should be made easier in order to accommodate women. The difficulty with all 5 arguments or points that you raise is that it places the spotlight on women and seems to assume an inadequacy in the woman. What you don't touch on is the systemic barriers to the advancement of women.
Yes.
Now, I just wanted to find out, to your mind, what are those systemic barriers to the advancement of women in the profession?
Yes. Actually, for me to catalog those issues was relating to systemic barriers that women face. I did indicate that in addition to their, for example, practicing as lawyers, they do have other challenges that they have to face because they are women and they are running families and all that. So we have to make sure that we accommodate them. There's provision for that. And within the structures of the profession, there should not be any barriers that makes it impossible for them to advance. Not that they must get special attention. They are fully aware, they are fully adequate, and you have seen the results that they are doing well. And even when they appear in our course, we'll see that they put a lot of weight and they influence most of our decisions. So I was just thinking of those things that one would find in the profession that would make it impossible for them to stay on and to advance their careers within the profession.
Do you believe that women lawyers and or women judges operate in an environment that's inherently hostile to them?
It depends where one finds himself or herself. If I take the let's say advocacy, the kind of work that is dished out to practitioners, it's not always that you find that women benefit from that private and business work. Mostly, they will get work from the state attorney. That is from where I've realized where I preside. Maybe some RAF matters, a few, but mostly the briefing patterns makes the environment hostile.
JB Tlaletia, that's precisely what I'm driving at. Do you know why that's the case? Why aren't women getting the commercial work? Why are women forced to depend on state attorney work and RAF
Yes.
work?
I think it's a question of acceptability by those who are already there. There's some of the excuses that they would give it, say, my client wants me to do this. This is the instruction from the client, which I believe, you have to advise your client as to what is the policy of the profession and how you should also conduct your practice. So, but the environment at times, it's such that it makes it impossible for them to continue.
And speaking of a hostile environment, do you believe sexual harassment within the judiciary is an issue?
I wouldn't say it's an issue that I have identified as a problem. I am aware of an instance that has gone public with those allegations, but I am not aware of, or I could say it is a problem as such. But one should not rest on saying it's not a problem, because there could be those that we are not even aware of. So having a anti-sexual harassment policy will assist to open up and make us aware that there is this problem. They might be kept secret. There might be those instances. It might be difficult to know that they exist, they are happening. And obviously, if they are happening, then they will get reported. If I'm a head of court and I come across that problem, I will take it up immediately.
Chief Justice, it's just the last follow-up and then I'm done. Just in relation to the so-called anti-sexual harassment policy, I just want to understand, firstly, you've been asked exhaustively today how you align with the priorities of the Chief Justice. What you've just indicated now, do you believe that aligns with the priorities of the Chief Justice on sexual harassment? That's the first question. The second one, on the so-called anti-sexual harassment policy, have you considered the policy, and do you believe it addresses all the specific characteristics of the judiciary which makes sexual harassment an issue within the judiciary?
Yes. I aligned with the policy, the priority of the Chief Justice. This comes a long way. I was part of the heads of court when it started, and there was an attempt to have one, but it was held back and said it needs to be formally and professionally be prepared so that it can cover everything. We have looked at it. I personally looked at it, and I do not have a problem with it. There were only a minor issue, I think, that I looked at, which I had requested that the committee should look into, or the preparatory committee, where it extends over to the employees. It is a judiciary policy, but currently, as we stand, we still have the employees who are going to be covered by it, which might conflict with the policies that they have in the public service. So those, and we do not know whether those policies or their actually policy do cater for what is already contained, but it was just to compare. But within the judiciary, I know there were other issues that were raised, but I do not have a problem there with. And I don't have a problem. And I fully support it, I must say.
Sorry, Chief
Follow up,
Justice.
CJ.
I need to really follow up on this one. So, the difficulty, sorry, JP, I know you are drinking water there. I'm not interrupting your need to drink water. But I think there may be a misunderstanding of what your answer is on the sexual harassment question. Remember that the question was, do you believe that sexual harassment is an issue in the judiciary? And then you said, I wouldn't say it is an issue. Now, I have a real problem with that answer, and I believe that you may have miscommunicated.
everyone sitting here interviewing you believes that sexual harassment is an issue in the judiciary and that it must be uprooted and that it is pervasive, but it is unreported and it's unidentified because victims are afraid to come out because the structure of the judiciary is patriarchal.
Yes.
That's what everybody here believes. You're the only one in this room who believes it's not an issue.
Well,
Can you just clarify your answer on that issue so that we don't come out with a wrong impression?
yeah, I indicated that.
Perhaps before you answer that question, JP, let me add to Commissioner Ngukaitobi's question.
Yes.
Your division, well, the draft sexual harassment policy doing the rounds received overwhelming support from the entire judiciary, bar one division, your division. Yes, your division is one of the few among us who came up with useful substantive issues for further considerations, which is what we are busy with now. But then its final word was that there actually is no need for the policy because we have the Code of Judicial Conduct, which is adequate to deal with these issues. And of course, it was a joint report of the division, not written by you, but by a senior woman judge in your division. But one assumes that you were part of that view. And I want you, as you answer Commissioner Ngukaitobi's follow-up question, to assure me, to assure us and everybody else concerned,
Yes.
that you really support this document and believe that there is need for it.
Definitely, Chief Justice, I support, and I did indicate, and I do also say I support it. And as I say, it's just a question of having to compare with the public service, how it extends to the administrative staff. On whether it is an issue, my answer is based on the fact that I cannot say it's not there. It could be there, but it's not in the open. But if I were to come across any of such an incident, I am bound to immediately raise it and not allow it to lie there and not be attended to. Up to now, I have never come across an issue which I have known about sexual harassment that I would have had to disclose or be even a complainant about it. But if the scourge is there, I accept it, but I have not come across a case like that. If it exists, obviously it should be an issue, but the problem is the incidents that I was not aware of. And if the members of the House say it is there, it means then there will have to be further investigations to make sure that it's rooted out and not only allow the victims to come up and create an environment that it is being addressed. Thank you.
Commissioner Baloyi?
Follow up, CJ.
Thank you. Good afternoon, JP. Yes, JP, this what you've just said now, that in fact, I think a few comments earlier even, that you're not aware of that it is a problem, sexual harassment in the judiciary, is concerning if it suggests, and that's what it seems to suggest, that there is in fact no discussion within the judiciary about what has been identified, but for your division, that has been identified as a problem in the judiciary. I mean, as Commissioner Ngukaitobi says, that everyone in this room knows that there is a concern about sexual harassment in the judiciary and that it is pervasive or it is a real problem. And if you say, well, I'm not aware of it, it's worrying because because then it suggests conversations are not happening in the judiciary. They may be happening in silos, if they are happening, but if you are not aware of it and you're not part of those conversations, then it's a completely different worry that we should have.
Yes.
Is it a fair reflection that there's no conversation in the judiciary about this?
Commissioner, thank you, Commissioner. I would say in my division, we haven't had such a problem that I had to deal with, especially in the High Court. I do not recall being party to a conversation, say at national level, that you have this catch and that it need to be attended to. We all accept that if it is there, and we know it's difficult for it to come out. But I personally would say I have not had intimate discussions relating to it that much. My recollection.
Thank you, CJ.
Just a follow-up on this.
Minister.
JP Tlaletsi, what
Yes,
is your understanding of why the CJ, as one of the things that she has put as a priority, I think in every meeting that I meet her, for example, I know there's no way that that meeting will finish without her talking about the gender desk and the issue of sexual harassment police. I know for a fact. Actually, I panic when I go to her if I don't have answers around that area of work. Now, with your response, what is your understanding of her being so much putting pressure on this issue that led to yourself as part of the heads of courts that sits with the CJ as the leadership of the judiciary, not being able to pick up this issue as something that you must open conversation in your division?
yes. In the first place, there was no policy at all. If there was a complaint like that, it would go the normal route of the JP or directly to the JSC. But that lack of policy being in place did not necessarily mean that it is not there. So one of the objectives of the policy, I think, is to make for everybody within the judiciary to be aware and not to sit with problems. They should come up. But what I was saying is that policy has certain definitions of things that people would not have thought that they would amount to sexual harassment. But being part of the society in South Africa, I mean, you would get a situation where there is sexual harassment. But I was merely saying I've never put my finger on any of such conduct within the judiciary where I serve. Thank you.
Chairperson?
No, thank you very much, Chief Justice. JP,
Ma'am.
it's not about you coming across sexual harassment. What we want to know, what is your conviction, your views about it? You seem to come across as someone who's holding back his views, and that does not assist us seated here. So up until now, you've left us confused on a number of issues. So please explain yourself. What are your views about sexual harassment in the work environment?
Commissioner, I abhor it. I don't like it. I dislike it. Wherever I see it, I will report it and I will deal with it. It's something that I will never support personally or even in my professional capacity. If I created any impression that maybe I will tolerate it, I would never, definitely. Thank you.
Commissioner San?
Commissioner Malema. Thank you very much, CJ. JP, I'm also going to ask this by way of follow-up related to the sexual harassment policy, but I'm going to craft it a little bit differently. Look, JP, the Deputy Chief Justice plays an important role in supporting the Chief Justice, not only in terms of judicial leadership, but also helping drive institutional reform. And one of the CJ's stated priorities, and I think Minister also mentioned it now, is the finalization and the implementation of a clear and credible sexual harassment policy for the entirety of the judiciary. So the question is, what are your views on the role that policy should play in preventing and addressing sexual harassment in the judiciary? And how would you see yourself supporting the Chief Justice in ensuring that this policy becomes an effective and enforceable tool for change? Thank you.
Thank you. Already with the current process, everybody in the judiciary is aware that there's a process of having this policy finalized and to be put in place. Once it is in place, it is the responsibility of every judge to start with, irrespective of the position, whether as leadership position or not, to ensure that this policy is implemented. It is well understood, it is known. If I am appointed and it is one of the matters that specifically the Chief Justice assigned to me, I will run with that still and make sure that well understood, it's being implemented, and there's no case that goes unattended to and unpunished. Even if I'm not the Deputy Chief Justice, I still commit myself that I will deal with that issue of sexual harassment in whatever form. The good thing is the policy itself, once finalized, it will explain how sexual harassment manifests itself. And that's why victims do not readily come out to report this kind of harassment. And it will be a conduct and a standard that each judicial officer should live by for all levels of the judiciary, from the judges, president, let's say from the constitutional court up to the lowest court in the magistracy, including the land claims courts.
Commissioner Malema?
Thank you.
I didn't want to get involved, but I realized I must just try and help the situation. Is there a sexual harassment problem at workplaces in South Africa?
Is that the
Yes.
question?
Yes, I'm
Well,
asking.
Yes.
Is-
From my experience, starting from the labor court, there has been that problem that has been identified.
So judiciary is a workplace.
I don't know, do we need a dialogue, Chief Justice?
Don't do that, because we're trying to find your view on this matter. I'm not engaged in a dialogue with you,
Okay.
JP. I'm trying to arrive at a certain point. Why? Because you are making it difficult to make up our mind in relation to your thinking on this matter. That's why I'm coming up with a different approach. I asked, is there a problem of sexual harassment in society? You said yes.
Yes.
Is judiciary not a working place?
It is.
Therefore, it means there will be a problem of sexual harassment in the judiciary, because there is generally a problem of sexual harassment in society.
Yes.
Now that you came before us to apply for a position where you are going to support the Chief Justice, and you are confessing that you didn't know that there is a problem of sexual harassment in the judiciary, now you know.
What I'm saying, Commissioner, is the actual cases in my workplace, I have not come across that. But I do not rule out that they are there. I'm saying without a policy, it will be difficult to get to know about these cases. Once there is a policy in place, it will encourage everybody to make it known so that we have this scourge and then address it immediately.
No, JP, you are applying to go and assist the CJ. Assist her on what? Because you don't know what are the issues there, what are the problems. I'm saying, with all of everybody's input now, not your experience, where you work and all of that, now at a national level, with national consciousness that is given to you now, out of this input, do you accept that there is a sexual harassment problem in judiciary in the same way there is a problem of sexual harassment in society? You might have came here not aware, but with everybody's input now, do you now accept that it looks like there is a problem the judiciary is dealing with? You were not aware of it. You are now aware of it. But it makes it problematic for me to want to go and help the CJ on matters that you don't know. Help her on what? Because you don't know there is a problem she's dealing with.
Yes.
That's why she's trying to expedite the issue of sexual harassment policy, which you are aware of. And when it became an issue, a judge with interest in leadership position would have inquired as to what necessitates such a policy. Because we've been operating here, there was no policy. Why now? Because you have got interest in leadership position. Being Deputy Chief Justice is a leadership role and is to help the Chief Justice, and you were going to help her on issues that you are not aware. What are the issues? Now you know, you do accept that there is a problem of sexual harassment in the judicial with all inputs given here.
I have been assured that there is that problem, and I do accept that there is that problem. What I was trying to put forward was that I personally have not come across a specific case that I had to deal with. But if the sketch is there, I do accept.
CJ, I personally never came across a case of racism, but I know there is racism.
Are there any further questions for the candidate, colleagues? Inkos?
Thank you, CJ. Good afternoon again, JP.
One more time, good afternoon, Commissioner.
Can I be protected from my my left? Sorry, Chair. South Africa is composed of different and diverse nations.